Hi, my name's Sarah Haskett, and I'm going to share with you my story and a question. What does wellness really mean? We hear the term bounced around all the time, but what is this thing called well-being? It's a real challenge to define, and I say challenge because wellness really means something very different to each person on this planet. What wellness means for me is being creative, feeling connected, being part of something that matters, showing kindness to myself. The trouble is that sometimes these things, they feel like they're in direct conflict with my human programming. You know, that programming that looks for danger when someone wants to get close to me. Remembers every time I was hurt, when someone let me down or made me feel bad. That part of me that has a word with myself for getting it wrong. That tough love in a dialogue. And I'm sure that everyone can relate to those times. And I bet that that list of 3 evoked far more emotion in you than the former. And while the answer to the question of wellness might look very different for all of us, the reason behind the struggle is the same. Did you know that every common mental health problem is just our programming working in overdrive? It's like our programming is wrong. It was right once, but it's not working for us so much anymore. Let's look back in history. We haven't always lived this way. We only have to look back a couple of 100 years to know that the dangers in the world were very different to the way that we live today. And when an animal gets anxious, this is because it has life-threatening situations. It needs the adrenaline for energy. The cortisol floods the brain, one-track thinking. That makes the mind just think in one dynamic, just getting away, reduce the danger. And similarly, when an animal gets low in mood, it's normally because it's unwell, it's poorly in some way, and it needs to crawl into a hole, isolate themselves in a place of safety where they can recover. We all still have this same programming, but today, mostly we're not anxious or sad about the types of situations. We feel this way because the danger that we perceive is social, judgments, criticism, getting something wrong. The times we remember being hurt are emotional, not physical. And that inner dialogue is built on society's expectations to do better, to be better, to do more, to be more. And despite the barriers that we all know exist, the real problem is our base programming works against us in a modern world. So is wellness going against our natural programming? So I'm really dyslexic, and I had a problem with my sight as a teenager. I had cataracts. And as an adult, I couldn't read or write or do basic math. And I would hide my problem through shame and embarrassment. The longer the time went on, the harder it was to get help, because it felt impossible to change. I was stuck. I feared society's opinion on me. I struggled to trust people because of past memories, pain I felt when someone had let me down or made me feel silly. And I felt stupid and hopeless. My programming was telling me that there was danger, and the way to avoid danger was to pretend, muddle through, don't let people know. I was stuck in a self-fulfilled prophecy. The more I hid the problem or avoided being vulnerable with others, the more I felt stupid and hopeless, and the less options that I had to change. Yeah, I might have felt relief in the moment each time I got through it or avoided being in a vulnerable situation. But overall, my thoughts of being stupid and my feelings of shame continue to fester. Our danger programming is reinforced this way. It's designed to keep us scared. When it's working correctly, we're scared of the predators, the things that are going to physically hurt us. And we should be, right? We need to continue to avoid those things to stay alive. The three elements play out when our danger programming is malfunctioning in a social context. Our mind thinks in one dynamic. We're not being creative, finding innovation or compassion. We withdraw from people, unable to feel connected. And because this programming is attached to something that we need and want in life, our inner dialogue festers negative thoughts. So how can we break free of this programming malfunction and be more in wellness? That's the question, isn't it? Is being in wellness actually about letting ourselves be vulnerable? So I'm a really big Buffy fan, and there's a scene in Buffy the Vampire Slayer where Willow has all these dark thoughts and difficult feelings of pain and anger, and she's fighting and destroying the world. And I want to show this to you because I just think it shows a message.
If you want to kill the world, well, then start with me. I've earned that.
You think I won't?
It doesn't matter. I'll still love you.
Shut up.
I love you. I love you.
Shut up!
I love you, Willow.
Stop!
I love you.
Stop!
I love you.
So Willow was in pain. She felt vulnerable. She was angry. She was destructive. To be saved, she had to be vulnerable. When I was able to face up to the shame that I felt and be vulnerable with others, I took the risk of others' judgments. And I was angry and I was destructive. And until I let myself be vulnerable, I had to go right back to things and learn stuff that children were learning. You know, I had to really bite my pride. And that was hard. It was really hard to lay myself out like that and be so vulnerable in front of people, which was exactly what my programming, what my danger programming was telling me I mustn't do. But I came to a new understanding that those who did judge me didn't matter. And once I let them, I found my own Xander in so many people around me. I was now getting one of those mega Windows updates. You know, the kind that sort of leave your computer hanging for like hours before it will update. Anyway, I had this mega Windows update. And I was seeing less danger and feeling more connection with others. My thinking was no longer fixed in remembering pain, and I could see the balance. My inner dialogue was improving as I felt more achievement. So point 1 in wellness. When your danger programming is malfunctioning in a social context, be vulnerable and do what feels wrong. If fear is telling you to avoid it, do it. If sadness is telling you to withdraw, reach out. When your darkness is feeling overwhelming, allow the option to find your Xander. But do you want to know a sneaky trick to make this easier? When we're laying down our programming, when we're children, we're learning about the world, others, and how to behave, how to see the world, what to expect. We're deciding how we fit in the world, what it means to be in the world that we're in, and what to expect from others. Our brain is like a forest. We're forging a path through that forest. The assumptions that we make about others and ourselves are all based on our experiences as a child. And as we make sense of what to expect, we're laying down our path through the forest. And the more that we see things this way, the more the path gets trodden down. And all those assumptions, they're just like the scenery in this part of the forest. You know, our neuro pathways become more established as we continue to see things the way that we do. So I know that part of the scenery on my path is to assume that I'm always wrong. An example of this would be that when I was at work, if somebody was not talking to me or didn't say hi, I would think it was me. I would have I done something wrong? Have I upset them? Annoyed them? They don't like me. But these thoughts are not part of me. They're just the scenery on this path that I forged as a child. And I'm different now. I have the choice to feel better. And to do this, I straighten my neck like a meerkat. I'm looking out into my forest for alternative paths. I can see that there are loads of other reasons why someone might not speak to me. They might have a headache, their shoes might hurt, they might, there could be all sorts of reasons. They might have a wedgie, they might have put on the wrong shoes, they might, I could go on. Is your path holding you back? Because there's a big forest out there. I invite you today to be like a meerkat in your forest. Stick your head up. Take a look around. What influenced you to see your problems the way you do? What experiences have led you to take this path in your thinking? And those assumptions of judgments and negative reactions you have are just part of the scenery in this stretch of forest. And the path is easy to walk because you know it. It's just well trodden. Taking a new path can be a bit scary. It's unknown. And all the long grass and the brambles, they haven't been trodden down yet. You don't know the way just yet in that new part of the forest. But the more you take this new path where the scenery is much kinder, the more the new path is trodden down and the old path starts to grow over. So the next time you're feeling stuck, anxious or sad, and judgments from others are on your mind, straighten your neck, sit up, look out over your path like a meerkat, because these assumptions are just the scenery. And there's a whole forest of alternatives. And if your danger programming is malfunctioning, Do what feels wrong. Be vulnerable. Because on another path, there are loads of Xanders out there waiting to love you. Thank you for listening.
Too late tonight.